321, I'm on scene. I'll be assuming Caroline Street Command. I got a 2.5-story wood occupied multiple dwelling. I got heavy fire from the second floor, Charlie side. I have an exposure on the Delta side. We have one line stretch not in operation yet. Primary searches are underway. Status of the fire is doubtful. One passing command. I'm on the first line. Speed advisor on speed. 2-story wood frame. I got heavy fire from the Alpha side.
Welcome back. This is the newest edition of the Volley Chief. This is Chief David Lenart. I got a very special guest on today. Somebody who, in my fire service career, has been a major influence. His resume, very, very impressive. So I'll definitely let him introduce himself. So, Commish, go right ahead.
Hi, Dave. Good morning, and thank you very much for the kind words. My name's Gary Parker. I'm the current fire commissioner of the Derby Fire Department, past chief, past captain, past line officer, all the way through. Right now, I'm in my 47th year of service to the Derby Fire Department, and it's gone by very quickly.
Yeah, I won't tell you how old I am, because that might hurt a little.
I got to know Dave when he was before grammar school, put it that way, and have watched him grow and mature, and it's been a pleasure with that. Sometimes challenging, but it's been a great ride, and I'm happy to be here today and talk fire.
All right, and also too, he's very modest. He's in the State Firefighters Hall of Fame in Connecticut. You're one of the engineers in the Massachusetts USAR team.
That's correct.
So he really is very modest. He's a phenomenal cowboy. Could ride a horse better than anybody in Derby.
I could stay on a horse. I don't know about ride. I could stay on.
So the commission actually came up with the idea for this episode. We just had elections, so a lot of us are now about to deal with, or in the process of dealing with, new administrations.
That's right.
And one of the things we wanted to talk about was just kind of what you got to tell them, especially in the volunteer side of things, how you introduce the fire department.
Yeah, that's right, David. It's very important. The way it works in Derby is the commissioner is appointed by the mayor, and his term is only 2 years. So the commissioner's term is every 2 years. It's up for grabs. Likewise, all the elected boards that we in the fire service need to deal with are elected that same 2-year cycle. So it's especially for capital improvements and apparatus purchases and even everything we do now is a big purchase. We just went through a cycle of purchasing turnout gear, which is another story in itself. But all this stuff it takes years to get people up to speed sometime of the, first of all, the importance of the service we provide. That's usually the easy part, because they can see us every day. They can see the apparatus and they hear the sirens. Most will ask, when you see them after a big event of, what it was all about and all that. But the challenge is to make them realize that that just doesn't happen. And most of you that are listening to this, I'm sure know exactly what I'm talking about.
So just for a little background, here in Derby, we being a city, we have a mayor, and then we have our city council, which is a board of aldermen. And as odd as it is, they kind of can't do anything without each other. So if we need anything, you have to bring it to the mayor, bring it to the board of aldermen, and then to throw the monkey wrench into the works, we have a tax board, and that handles all the money for the city. So every beginning of the year, the commissioner has to submit a budget to the mayor's office. Then we have to go sing for our supper to the tax board, and then the whole thing gets approved. In true, I guess you'd say, small town New England, the craziness is like the board of aldermen can override the tax board, but the tax board can't override the board of aldermen. So you learn I hate to say this, play the game, but you become, one of the differences when you start moving up the ranks and you become the chief, or in this case the commissioner, you become a little bit less of a firefighter, you'd say, and more of a politician sometimes, because that's who you're dealing with. You're speaking with the powers to be.
Yeah, exactly right, Dave. The decision, the people elect, the citizens elect their representatives for government. The method we have in Derby and in the United States. And so we don't get to choose who makes the choices for us. We in the fire department, that comes from the voters at large. What's happened, the fire department in Derby used to be a mass of the voting block. That's not the case anymore. We have members from surrounding towns and that may not vote in Derby. They have more of a voice in their own, where the communities they live. So we have to be very eloquent and deliberate in our information exposure to these folks, and it has to start. As an example, as we sit here today, the new mayor. There's a new mayor that was elected in Derby. His term begins a week from yesterday, a week from December 2nd. And he has not made his decision yet on the commissioner. So it may or may not be me. And that's fine, and I can live with that. It's just that there's anything that we as a department have in motion right now. Whoever the new commissioner may be, I'm more than willing to work with anybody, and we need to get everybody up to speed here to know exactly where the fire department is and where we need to be, so that we can avoid any issues that similar to what we just went through.
Right. The commission. Since I was fortunate to have a commissioner like you who had so much experience that even at incidents I could turn around and see what you were thinking and bounce stuff off you. But tag teaming the city, it was a lot of education. Every year during the election, even when new elections, new boards, people would come and go. It's constant education of the services provided, because most people just, you're the fire department, but do they really know what that means? What's entailed? What's required? We had, like anybody sitting in our offices, we've had battles over what's the required equipment, what's the required service life of items, and
yeah, it's never ending, and I don't want to say you have to make it fun, because it's not fun all the times, but you have to be open and you have to be pleasant, and you have to love the fire service enough to get the wherewithal to come, to make yourself available whenever that may be. And that might be for a fire alarm at 2:00 in the morning, or it may be a series of 7:00 meetings over during tax board season when they're setting the budget in a new year. So we have to know. We have to know our knowledge base by heart. You can't go from notes. And anyways, I look forward to it. From my position, I've always looked forward to it, because I enjoy working with people. I have had the benefit of having gained some experience with this whole process. In a previous life, I was honored to work as a Derby Public Works Director, and that happened to be a concurrent time period when I was the fire chief. So I used to joke all the time and say that I work for the fire department. I volunteered at the Public Works, but the fact is that job. It's a little bit more than the fire department. It's a much larger budget. You're dealing with people's salaries, which is always an exciting thing, and you're dealing with union contracts.
Correct.
Again, another exciting topic. But a lot of that is still applicable to the volunteers. Even though we're not union, But I always envision in Derby, we operate as a department, but the way the charter has the 4 companies set up, I look at them as really our union halls in Derby. And each company is a little bit different. Maybe getting a little bit off the city topic here, but I'll do it real quickly. But we have 4 companies. They all have individual, personalities, let's say, and they're all very good at what they do, and that's fighting fires and putting fires out. And but it's interesting the different types of people that kind of go to each company. And it all works out. And we, like I said, we operate as a Derby Fire Department, and I'm proud to be affiliated with this department, as Dave as well. We know how to put fire out, and we know how to think on our feet, and it shows. And not to put anything down from everybody who comes to help us, because you're all, in order to play in our field, we're happy to have you with us, and we're happy to play in your field.
Yeah, and we did talk in one of the earlier episodes. We talked about the makeup of the department and what reasons why I think we're so well set up around here. And so, like I said, we have the new mayor coming in. So what would you say, Commish, would be the number one piece of advice that you would give to a newly elected official about how to manage a volunteer fire department?
Where do you start? I think the mayor, this mayor or any mayor needs to be open-minded, first of all, and willing to give this department some of his time, or her time, because it as you know, it's these are not simple topics at times to explain. When it comes into shelf life of equipment or NFPA standards or whatever it may be, they need to take the time, and they need to be able to put trust in the individuals that run the Derby fire, the fire department, or the Derby Fire Department in our case, but whatever the case may be. You have to put trust in the individuals. I mean, the people running the department, and take the commissioner out of the mix for a second. The chiefs and the line officers. I mean, they're running $1 million piece of a fire apparatus down the road. We trust them to run that. We trust them to save people's lives, and not to mention the dangerous work that we do daily as a volunteer. I mean, no one asks anybody to do it. To be here, they're all here because they want to be here, and I would ask that any mayor would respect that, number one, and just give the department time to his time to so that he may learn a little piece of what's required and know what the needs really are.
And then we've done other things too, over the years, right? We did the typical, we created the PowerPoints. We would attend the monthly meetings. The commissioner is required to give a report every month to the city council, the board of aldermen. Those are other great ways, to meet with them. I believe again. My tenure as chief, I had 3 different commissioners. But didn't we take them on the tour? Yes. That was you, correct? Yeah. We actually did a night where we took all the elected officials and did a tour of the firehouses and brought them around to show them, the apparatus, the buildings, what our deficiencies are. And like you said, it's a lot of time consuming because they're coming in, and the fire department is one piece of the pie. And I've told a few elected officials in my day that, the fire department will probably be your biggest headache. And I don't mean it negatively, but the problem is a lot of people and a lot of politicians, especially in the smaller communities, because of the fact that the fire department is volunteer, they lower you on the priority scale, and they're just volunteers, and that's the wrong foot to get off on. You've got to hit them professionally. Come in, like you said, be prepared, have your ducks in a row, have your homework done, and show them what the fire department does, how it works, the idiosyncrasies of them, the like you mentioned, the nuances of our regulations and our rules. Even think about just trying to explain to a layperson how the NFPA, has regulations but can't enforce them, so they rely on OSHA to do that,
Right.
and all of that. And we know because we've sat through a few OSHA inspections and a few of these issues over the years. It's just a lot of education, and if as a chief, as a commissioner, as an officer, it's something that you've got to make time for, because you have to, teach the city, the powers to be, how the fire department works and why.
That's right. It takes and it takes time to do that. It's on us to gain the trust, and then we have to respect that trust once we receive it, and build off of that. They have to know that so we just spent $500,000 on turnout gear. Well, that's not the end of the road. We need another $500,000, and that's just, I'm shooting from the hip on that. but say for SCBA, and bang bang bang, it's right down the list, and it's not something that we're making up, and that's where the challenge comes. Sometimes they feel that they get swamped. So we need to show them the big picture as early as we can in their political terms, so that and give them the expectation up front of what they can expect, that we're going to be looking for. Apparatus, as an example, we're looking to purchase 2 apparatus since 2019. It has to happen soon, or we're going to be in trouble in Derby. I mean, and that's just a fact. And it's not and again, that may sound like a threat. It's not. It's just that if we want to continue running as a Derby Fire Department the way that at the standard we've been accustomed to, without new apparatus, we can't do that.
Correct. Now one of the things Derby has historically done a great job of is kicking the can down the road. And we were doing these large purchases. So instead of buying gear every year in small numbers as people came and go, we were buying bulk gear orders every 5 years. Radio equipment, we were buying it all bulk, and it was giving the city a lot of sticker shock. So we worked to change that, to start more of a rotation on the equipment, so to soften the blow a little bit and to keep stockpiles fresh and things like that. And that was a whole education base that we went through and we're living. And as far as the apparatus, I mentioned earlier, Derby has 5 engines, the ladder, a brush truck, a utility vehicle. We actually we sat down a committee, and it was and again, for those of you in the volunteer world, you understand how hard this could be. Commissioner put together a committee of members of the 4 different companies, our volunteer ambulance corps. They were those good senior level-headed members that you could rely on to make decisions. And we made some tough decisions. We agreed in the 3 engine companies in town have the 5 engines. So we have 2 double engine houses and a single engine house. The Hotchkiss actually agreed to give up an engine and replace it with a smaller utility vehicle. And again, that's a huge step for a volunteer fire department company to give up an engine and switch to a smaller vehicle. And what bothered us was we put this plan together. I mean, we were literally, I'd say, shovel ready. We had specs, we had everything ready to go. And it just dragged on. In the previous administration never wanted to face it. But the problem is that was 4 years ago. The plan would have bought 2 apparatus and then given the city a 10-year pause on buying fire apparatus. So now here we are. We're 4 years into that 10-year pause, and we're still trying to get those apparatus in, and it's going to be a sticker shock to the city.
Yeah. Yes, it is, and it's unfortunately, put COVID into the middle of what it did to the entire country, not just us, the entire country. But if anybody, I'm sure anybody listening to this is, maybe their departments have gone through the purchase process of an apparatus, but not only have the prices gone up astronomically, but the lead time to get for delivery is, depending on what you're buying it, but it's 3 and 4 years out from the time you sign a contract. Not that, that's the take. Forget about going out to bid. It's just the signing the contract part. It's a problem. Not to mention the problem of keeping the volunteers motivated and recruitment motivated enough that you have new members coming in. Another issue again altogether.
Right, but it is one issue, but it ties in because the city, again we've had millions of conversations about this stuff. The city fathers, the powers to be, have to realize that there's a direct relationship to that. If you take care of the members, if you buy them the shiny toys, if you keep them feeling appreciated by listening to their needs and responding to their needs, you keep the volunteers. And that's one of the biggest hurdles, I think, that as the volunteer fire service we have to clarify with our cities and our elected officials, is that in a way, and I hate to use these, but they need us more than we need them. And usually they don't realize that till it's too late. And you've had members that have, well, they don't care about us, why am I coming around? And that's an argument that it's a question that we've been presented a lot lately. And I think that's important for city officials to realize, is that the treatment of volunteers goes a lot farther than, that the $500,000 for turnout gear is a drop in the bucket compared to if the volunteer firefighters didn't staff the smaller communities.
It's obviously we can all go the route of comparing career to volunteer. There's no question the volunteer is more bang for the buck, and in a case of Derby, it would not be Derby would never have a career department alone. It would be some type of regional setup, probably with a Sony at a minimum, and maybe other towns as well. But the we don't want it to go there. What's important is that they realize the cost of the apparatus. Let's just take that for a second. So you're looking at for an engine, at or near $1 million easily right now, and that's people might think that, or a layperson may think that there's got to be something, a cheaper model, but that is the cheap model. And it's the days of buying the so-called parade pieces. I think that's gone, across the board. Yes, you can get something, some chromed up this or that, whatever. But the nuts and the bolts of the truck or the engine are the most important thing. We all realize that, and we have to, portray that across to the people that we're selling this to. That we're not looking for extraordinary requests, and it's just very important that they realize that, because we can all get in a lot of trouble quickly if they don't hear us.
So you said 47 years, right?
40 in my 47.
47. So what year did you join?
1976.
76. Okay.
Yeah.
So a little bit different back then.
Right after BF.
Right after BF. So obviously I have a couple of specials coming up in March. I'm going to do a BF Goodrich one. It was a major fire in downtown Shelton. For a long time, it was the largest case of industrial arson in U.S. history. And around here, that's kind of there's a few incidents. There was the 55 flood, the BF Goodrich fire. We're going to do this series next week on the River Restaurant. That's kind of like the benchmark by when people joined.
That's it. More recently, you had latex in the 90s in Ansonia. So there's some hallmarks, and it's amazing. In the little valley here, the little Naugatuck Valley, that you hear about these. We know we live those, but that people have heard about them or read about them. And I travel a little bit. I know Dave travels a lot. And how often do you meet a firefighter from another part of the country, or even a layperson, and that may have some knowledge of those events, and then they found out that you meet somebody that was right there, and it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it is. And you were at River.
I was.
Yes.
Yes. Well, about 2.5 days, 2 days straight. I think I went home to change clothes.
Okay. And now, what was your favorite apparatus your whole time? What was your favorite rig?
Oh, what? Well, I'll tell you this story. I had a lot of favorite ones, but and this is not because I'm sitting in a storm engine company here, but I was a member of Boy Scouts Troop 3, and we met right down the street next to the courthouse in the white church, the white Congregational Church. And one of our meeting nights, we came up. It was during Fire Prevention Week, and I couldn't remember the year right now. I'm talking in 1969 or 1970. The storm engine guys, they took us for a ride on what they had just received, a new 1969 Hahn fire truck, engine 11, and they took us for a ride around town with them, blew the sirens and all that. And they actually let a few of us scouts, they tied us in, of course, but I rode on the back step, and that they were the only firehouse that would do that. We went to other firehouses, and they just, you can look at the truck, but don't touch it. But well, yeah. So engine 11 always that engine 11 always had a soft spot in my heart.
I could still, in my mind, I could hear it start up.
Yeah.
That deep that the Hahn made.
My membership in the fire department has been with the Pegassoka ladder, and the Maxim ladder, which is the predecessor, 2 times the predecessor of our current rig. It was actually a rebuild because just prior to my joining in 1974, unfortunately that apparatus and engine 12 from the storms met conspicuously at an intersection, and the ladder, if you want to call it, survived, but it was sent to the factory for a big rebuild.
Right, because that was the 85 Pierce.
Yeah.
Had the
well, originally was a 63
Max.
It was a Maxim.
Right.
And the ladder was built in 63, obviously, the aerial. It broadsided the engine 12 at the time, which was a 1958 GMC American France. It took that truck out of, and let me just say, no one was killed in this accident.
Correct, yeah.
Couple of injuries, nothing of a major nature, nothing life threatening at all. And not something that we ever want to reenact in any way, shape, or form. But the engine 12 was retired and replaced, and in fact, Dave's grandfather was the fire commissioner, the well-known Eddie Cotter. He bought a new engine sight unseen. It was another GMC American La France, and that replaced the one that was smashed, that went back into the storms. And the Maxim, Eddie, there was no favoritism with Eddie. He took care of everybody, with an equal hand, which is another hallmark of his career. But he was able to make arrangements, and they shipped out the Maxim back to Pierce. I'm sorry, we went to Middleborough, Maxim. That's where it was, Middleborough, Mass. And they remounted the aerial ladder from that truck onto a 85. I'm sorry, that was a 74. It was onto a 74 Maxim.
And then in 85, it would get mounted to the Pierce.
It got remounted again onto the Pierce. So
that ladder, the physical ladder, was in Derby
on 3 different apparatus
for 40 some odd years.
Yeah. That ladder was. That's what I cut my teeth on, that ladder, and that was truly a lightweight ladder.
It swayed.
And you knew it. And you knew it.
So, all right. Well, Commissioner Gary Parker of the Derby Fire Department, thank you very much. Again, next week we're going to start our River Restaurant series. So we're going to do some background information, and then I hate to say bring some of the old timers in, but bring some of the old timers in and discuss the operations that took place there.
Great, Dave. Thank you very much. I appreciated the time today. I enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't bore anybody.
Have a good day. Thank you.